Every executive by the Constitution of Nigeria is allowed to go for a second term, especially when you do well in office. And as a principle being practiced everywhere in the world, one of the party policies, there is what they call right of first refusal, whereby the incumbent is first of all to be consulted. It is right because he has the biggest advantage of representing the interests of the party. So where the incumbent is doing well, when he's healthy, when he's still competent, is found to be very competent to continue to represent the interests of the party, the first right of first refusal apply. In this case, it has to be first of all consulted. Do you want to continue in office? So where he feels maybe for some pressure that he may not be able, that is where we begin to look for other contenders for replacement. Yeah, it will been around for quite some time now by the grace of God. We followed the few administrations and what is the expectation of every administration. We also studied the political situation, the economy, and our socio-cultural, socio-political integration. I come to the conclusion, when I say he has done well, we can give evidence, there are yardsticks of measurement of doing well. First of all, we have the background coming into government at the time that we were worst hit by recession. Our economy went down, our resources went down. The allocation to states, of which the state is over 90% dependent on the federal allocation, came down. We didn't have so much of internally generated revenue. Now, any government at such a critical period that was able to manage the economy, that things were still moving, the salaries were still paid, allowances of civil servants and even the political office holders were still paid, and in the midst of it, there were other developmental projects like roads and even in agricultural development. There were aggressive drive in agricultural production, which helped to cushion the effects of the recession. The government intervened in the provision on the production of some of the staple food like curry, like yam and some fruits and vegetables, to cushion the effect of recession that was biting hard and then we had economy that was still under control. If you also must have listened, within that period, there are states that could not pay salary for upwards of 6 months to 1 year, and things were completely in a complete lockdown. The challenge we have, I have a little background of even the Ibom workforce and the civil service. We are over 30,000. There are some states with a workforce of less than 10,000. There are states with a workforce of less than 15,000. Ibom is a highly populated workforce, that is civil service. This is depending directly on the government revenue to sustain. And then that is why we are classified, mostly referred to civil service states, because a good number of people are accommodated within the civil service and the public service structure, which draws resources, which draws salaries, emoluments, entitlement from what is available as first line consideration to payment. So it's different. So when you go to Cross River State, for instance, it also depends. The workforce in Cross River State is less than 10,000. But Ibom is over 30,000. So that's the difference, basically, when you hear between the allocation that is dwindling and so on. But my consideration is, as a statistician, sometimes you look at the fact that we were, at the time, we were enjoying over 20 billion of allocation coming in as a result of oil revenue, and then suddenly, drastically, it dropped to below 10 billion, and then you still had to take care of a constant expenditure of government that was not dropping. Do you understand? The expenditure of government was not dropping, but the resources had dropped. But the resources that before now we were used is still the same thing. Do you understand? So that is where you look at the skill in managing such a situation, such that nothing really was no breakdown. I'm just looking at the balance first, the ability to balance the economy, to manage the economy at such a critical period. And then, like I said, that still within that time, the government did not say there's no money not to invest in infrastructure, like construction of roads. Like you've seen that massive construction of roads ongoing across the entire states. The number that you would wonder where the state is getting money to be funding such a massive level of construction that we're going that are already ongoing. And then we also look at, like, within some areas now, that there is improvement in electricity supply. The number of hours that we enjoy in electricity in some area of Ibom State now has significantly improved. Like in my area, we have between 15 to 20 hours of electricity per day. It was not so before now. And then other areas of business developments, encouraging the private sector. We go into some understanding, memorandum of understanding to encourage private sector to produce area. We talk about industrialization. So we have heard of the meter production that is running. We heard of the paints production that is running, and then even other category of both in agriculture and in some things that you will consider minor. But for me, if you are in a system that we did not produce pin, we didn't produce pencil, and all of a sudden you begin to see some of those things. These are a starting point which should be encouraged. So even in that area, you could see the intention of government, the drive of government to diversify the economy into having the money coming out from the production sector, not only from the sale of oil to get revenue. For my own understanding of politics is, frankly speaking, is every argument starts from interests. So it is the interests that people have that drive all these arguments. So some of these arguments are based on prevailing sentiments that and most of the sentiments are based on economic consideration. And the sentiment here is that wherever we have a situation where some people, maybe some other parts of the society, have enjoyed the privileges of office, and it is felt that no matter how you perform, you should also allow other parts of the society to also enjoy the privileges of office, to have a sense of belonging. But the people who designed the Constitution may not have taken that into serious consideration. Like in the legislature, for instance, there is no tenure limitation. It is only in the executive that they have a maximum of 2 terms, no matter how you perform. But in the legislature, the provision was made that the more you go, the more you have the experience to make contribution, since the whole thing is about making laws that will help to govern the society in a better way for the betterment of the people. So the people who designed the Constitution made it possible that as long as you have people, yes, the people you represent within your district under consideration are happy with their representation and are willing to vote for you, after a defined period, you can continue to enjoy the office. So that is the strongest argument now. The other one of zoning now becomes local. The other sentiment of zoning becomes a local thinking. But even then, no matter the argument, you cannot disqualify any aspirant from contesting an election on the basis of zoning. You can use the zoning to campaign, and then let the people be sensitized on the need to decide who to vote for. If they want to vote on the basis of zoning, they will go on the day of election. Because even the Constitution, the law of Nigeria, gives you the freedom. There is nobody that, under the law of this country, there is nobody that has ever been disqualified from contesting an election on the basis of zoning. So, I've always condemned violence. I have always, it's a matter of my principle, policy. I don't believe in violence, especially election violence. So I only hope and pray that our democracy will continue to develop to a level that you will not need violence to win election. But what we still have up to this moment is a very primitive practice. What we are having up to this moment as an election is a very primitive practice, where sometimes people run away with ballot boxes and then cut away election materials through violence. And then it's always without following the process, following the legitimate process for a free, fair, peaceful election where you exercise your franchise. So until our democracy gets to that point where people are willingly can express themselves through the ballot box, willingly can say their opinion, this is what they stand for, without molestation, without intimidation, and without any harassments. Until we get to that point, we've stayed and we're still in a very primitive democratic practice. But I know that with all the amendments to the Constitution now going on in the National Assembly, we've seen some positive amendments that will add credibility to the system if fully implemented. So that is why I believe that our democracy will continue to develop. We expect to have a better election this time. We've gone beyond that by now, because for over close to a year now, we've come back, we've done a lot of things fully back in the PDP. But well, for the purpose of your question, I would say yes. You know, the politics itself is interests, and sometimes there are a number of things that you feel is still within your rights to demonstrate your freedom of expression and so on. We left the party for a short time, but by the grace of God, this is a party of first love, like you have rightly said. It's our own this thing. A vacuum was created, which we still had the urge to come back and feel with the enabling environment that was created by the governor, Ibom Emmanuel, when he came into office. A number of those things that we had arguments were resolved, like inclusion. He has come to open up the party. He has come to adopt a policy of inclusion, and that is what we always wanted. At a certain stage, we had that problem within our PDP. The party locked some people out. But when the governor came in, he decided to open the party and for all inclusive kind of governance that carries every sector, all the stakeholders across. So if you watch what is happening, for me that was the cardinal consideration that I decided to come back to the party, because of his policy of political inclusiveness. The party is a leading party in the states that is very sure to win the states. And then at the center is the party is also favored to unseat the present incumbent. Because of the political situation in the country, because of the number of people, you know, one of the things in humankind, they're always a yearning for change. They always want to have change. That's the beauty of life. People always want change. Human beings are not satisfied, and that is what is responsible for development. The urge for change is what is responsible for development. The situation may be good, but people will always want an improved situation. So, and that will give rise to the demand for change. So the demand for change will always be. And that has always been the driving force in the call for change in every dispensation like this. So the next dispensation in 2019 will also be a vote for change. In 2015 was also a vote for change. So that's why some people say change the change. Some people say change the change. So the election of 2019 will also be a call for change. So whatever you change, it depends on this thing. So from the arguments all over the country today, people want change again.